Hey there, everybody. My name is Smokey, and I'm a Night Elf Bear Druid. But you could call me Smokey, the Bear Druid. That's right, and when I'm not communing with nature, I'm trying to get the word out about forest fires. Number one, because they're super dangerous, and number two, because they're so easily preventable. I mean, only you can prevent... What's that? I'm sorry, everybody. A producer's in my ear. What did you say, man? What's going on? Teldrassil's what? You're crazy. Oh my! Oh my! Everybody run!
Everybody, and welcome to the Battlenet News broadcast bunker in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today is, what is it today? It's July 31st. Oh my gosh. It's almost August, everybody. Oof. All right, and it is now 9:15 in the PM Central Time. Thanks for joining us from all around the Blizzard universe. My name is Pat Krane. I am the host of this ding-dang show, and as always, the players are here. First up, from Lords of the Storm, a show about Heroes of the Storm, it's Gizmo!
Is it me?
It's you.
Pat, can we please get a Smokey the Bear Druid shirt?
T-shirt? You want a T-shirt? Yeah, that's not a problem.
I do.
That's not a problem. That's totally cool. I will get that right out to you. Also joining us from the Angry Chicken for Azeroth, part of the new expansion, I'm guessing, and many other podcasts as well. It's Jocelyn Moffett. Hello, Joce.
Hello.
And welcome.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been a part of the Battlenet newscast, and thanks for joining us. It's always great.
Yeah, normally we raid tonight, but since we're kind of on mini hiatus between expansions, I was like,
awesome.
I am in.
That works. And
there
also
are important events.
And also you can catch Joce on Battlenet Sports, where we talk about Hearthstone stuff all the time. And we will talk about Hearthstone stuff again tonight because you're here. And I know that there's, new expansion to talk about and all that kind of stuff. But first, before we get to anything, I want to talk to you guys about forest fires. No, I don't. We'll talk about that plenty in just a second. And there was a lot of stuff going on today. I'm not sure if you were really paying attention. But let's go around the room and just kind of talk about what we've been doing in gaming life. And Gizmo, as I understand it, you have been doing nothing.
That is 100% correct.
What's been going on?
I kind of feel like I've been like cryogenically frozen for the past 2 weeks.
Oh.
So I started a new job. So I was out of town for training, and now I've been working like crazy since I've been back. And it's been in a weird spot. So I was just able to start touching the 8.0 stuff tonight. But at the same time, I have been watching Twitter, and it has been a pleasure for the most part.
Well, that's good.
Yes. So
you had a different Twitter day than I did then.
Yeah, I guess, I wasn't partaking. I was watching the fires happen.
Yeah, there was fires on Twitter. There were plenty of those things. And I'm sure that we will talk about those as well coming up, because I don't want to give stuff away too early, but as I was saying in the pre-show, some stuff happened. A fan was involved and something hit it, and then there was splatter from the fan. It was a tough spot. Joce, before we get to that, Joce, what have you been up to in game or elsewhere? What's been going on?
Mostly just playing a ton of Warcraft, to be honest. I was leveling a warrior alt and playing a whole bunch of Darkshore in the best thing that Blizzard's ever done, War Mode.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
You like it?
Yes, I love it. Not just for like the bonus rewards, but just like the feeling of it in general. I ran like 3 tunes through Darkshore in War Mode, and then one that was a brand new 110 I did in not War Mode because I was like, I'm just going to get murdered.
Okay.
And then when I was playing my non-War Mode character, I was like, this is so boring now. How did I ever play the game like this?
Right. Well, have you always been a PvP person?
I really enjoy PvP, but because I started World of Warcraft so late and everybody that I play with was part of AIE, which is an RP PvE realm, I never experienced the whole PvP realm like thing.
Sure.
So the whole idea of world PvP is really, really new to me. I've always done like battlegrounds and arenas and stuff. But then to actually integrate that into my questing experience, I was like, oh, I have been missing out so much. Like, this is the Warcraft I've always wanted to play.
It's tough. I know. And so that was one of the things, because I know that I was kind of familiar with a little bit of PvP stuff when I was kind of leveling up my first tune and stuff like that before I went over to AIE myself. And as soon as I was over there, it did feel very safe, very, very welcoming, very, very nice. Until you got into Wintergrasp or something like that, where you could blow each other up. And that was always fun. That was kind of like the outlet that I had for PvP. That and like 4-hour, AV runs. So there's that. But yeah, so, and now that we're over on Airy Peak, not that it matters anymore, but it was a normal server, and now every server is just normal. I mean,
except the RP servers.
Or RP.
Yes, that is.
So it's kind of weird now, because it's like, oh yeah, you could just turn it on and be on your own little world. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, it is. It's really nice that I can get the whole world PvP experience without actually having to create a new character, like on a realm where I don't know anybody, or,
right.
I can just take my existing realm and guild experience and then also layer a PvP server over top of that, which is really, really fun right now.
That's cool.
I do have one concern, because I know right now they're kind of like testing the tech and stuff. So they haven't done the whole like putting the RP realm onto its own shard thing. That is what's planned for War Mode going forward. Right now, you can still run into people from non-RP servers, but that's going to go away.
Right.
So I'm a little bit worried it might feel kind of empty once it's only Earthen Ring, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it won't just be Earthen Ring, will it? It'll be all the different RP servers. And I know that I know that before this change, there were, I don't know how many RP PvP servers there were, but there were quite a few, right? I mean, so...
I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I was pretty sure that they said in Q&A, they specified like, note to keep your like RP canon stuff, they were keeping your realm to your realm.
Oh, I gotcha.
Because that's the whole reason to separate the RP realms anyways, right?
Right.
Yeah, so they like if you are RPing the people, or like if you're PvPing with War Mode on, then the people you see will only be the people from your realm to keep that going. So
okay, all right.
So that's why I'm kind of worried. Like, I mean, Earthen Ring, as far as I know, is quite horde heavy. Mm-hmm. So I'm a little bit worried that like I won't have anyone to play against. But the nice which is where the interest in the challenge comes from, right? I don't want to just be a death ball.
I don't know about that. I mean, think about the bonuses though, because it is so horde heavy. I mean, you could just go through normal quest, everything. You get bonus XP. You get all your special PvP tools that you can use on PvE content, and
with none of the slowdown,
any of the outdoor content. And it's just gravy. Pretty much.
That's true.
So yeah, I mean, who knows? I know that for me, I have been playing a lot of World of Warcraft lately, of course. I have been playing a little bit of Hammy, the Hammond hamster, over on Overwatch, and so that's fun.
I forgot that he was in the game. I was like, you're playing with your hamster?
Yeah. No, I'm totally doing that. And that's weird. I mean, like you need some skill to roll around in that stupid ball, which is fantastic. It's fantastic. It's just a fun little character, and I don't know. I haven't really seen him too much in like regular play and just pick up play and just quick match or whatever. And I haven't played competitive since he's been around, so I don't know what's going on with that stuff at all. I don't even think he's in competitive yet, but probably in today. Yeah, I don't know. It's I play Symmetra and then I just kill Hammond. That's what I do. That's my job. It's my job.
I need to hop in there to check out those changes.
Yeah, no,
it's fun.
It's cool. Symmetra is actually a lot of fun right now. In Warcraft, talking about this before the show, I finally got my Void Elf, and for that, I'm going to give myself a big round of applause. I'm going to bump up the volume, though. There we go. I finally got the rep needed for Void Elves. I know you guys are like, oh, you're way behind the curve, but I did it. I'm proud of myself. Okay.
I was gonna say, my Void Elf is already like level 70. What's wrong with you, Pat? Let's go.
It's going to be a quick race change for maybe my Warlock. And then I'm probably gonna have to. I'm gonna have to boost something because I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can level from 20 again. I just don't think I can do it. Oh,
they did fix it a couple times in the last week, so it might be better than it was, but it was rough.
Just so you guys know, from level 40, what they did was they did a couple of different things, and I'll talk about this before we get to the news. Actually, you know what? Screw that. We're just gonna go to the news right now. All right. And we're gonna start off with something kind of plain and mundane or whatever. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's XP nerfs. So it's XP nerfs from level 40 to 100, which is great. So less experience needed between those different levels. It's kind of adjusted all around. And then the other thing was that they made it so that mobs have less health and they're a little bit weak. So hopefully it'll make the leveling experience a lot faster, right?
Well, yeah, I think they broke everything with the scaling, right? When they did 8.0. So everything started to take a lot longer. People were dying a whole lot faster. And they were like, yeah, we never actually meant to change the leveling experience. Sorry, guys. Nerf, 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 nerf.
Right. So this is actually kind of cool, though. I mean, I'm glad for it. I know that a lot of people were kind of bummed when they went over to the kind of the whatchamacallit, the thing where the mob was the same level as you, because it was tougher just for leveling all around, right? Mm-hmm. And people were used to blowing through that content, and they were used to, like they would put on all their heirlooms, and it just wouldn't feel special anymore because it took a few hits to get these suckers down instead of just like one swipe and 5 guys fall down. Like paper dolls or whatever.
It wasn't just the changes to like the scaling zones, but also the changes that they made to the dungeons and stuff, to where grinding dungeons wasn't going to be as fast. Because several months ago, I was talking about my adventures of leveling up my rogue and druid, and while I still don't think, or from what I've heard, it doesn't feel like as fast as before those changes. If it's better, period, that's good, because it felt like it was harder to level from like 40 to 41 than it was from like 100 to 105. Like It was a really slow grind. So hopefully this helps.
Yeah, and it should. I mean, because they went through it and hopefully I know these guys, they've tested it. They probably understand kind of what's going on. Now it's time to push it live and see exactly how people interact with it. But yeah, I mean, so we'll be seeing this. We'll be seeing the results of this soon. I still don't think I can level up a tune from level 20 to 110, let alone 120. That's 100 levels.
It's a lot.
It's a long way, yeah.
And it's all for transmog gear. It's like, you're kidding me.
Yeah, and I actually made the mistake. I started to, I was leveling my warrior, and I was going through as a Nightborn, and I was like, okay, I'm going to be a Nightborn warrior. It's going to be so good. Level, going to get that heritage armor. And I never actually went to look at what it looked like. And then I went and looked at a picture of it, and I was like, My warrior's never gonna wear that.
Right, right, exactly. So there you go. Exactly. Boost. And I'm guessing that, so the only one that I really kind of want to try to level maybe is the Dark Iron Dwarf when it comes out, when it comes available, because those guys are super edgy. Those guys are really awesome, and that transmog gear is actually pretty cool.
The Mag'har Orc transmog gear is pretty good as well.
Right. Mag'har Orc and Dark Iron Dwarf are both like killer allied races that are going to be coming for Battle for Azeroth, and I'm so excited for that. That's only like 2 weeks away, guys.
Seems crazy.
2 weeks. We've been building up all summer long, getting ready for this thing, and now we're gonna talk about World of Warcraft lore.
Let the suffering commence.
So we have part 2 of War of the Thorns, and I found out that there is a "the" in there. It's not War of Thorns. It's War of the Thorns.
Oh. Yeah. I thought it was War of Thorns.
I know. I think there was a misprint when part 1 came out, and then they corrected it, and then they corrected it again. So apparently it's War of the Thorns. And part 2, last week we had part 1, where troops are moving, and we're trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And now we have part 2. And I just want to warn you guys that there probably will be spoilers here. So I'll just give you a quick little spoiler alert. All right, that's enough. Because it is kind of a meaty story right here. And Joce, before we actually get into it, I want to find out what your reaction was to not only to part 2, but of course, Warbringers, Sylvanas, the animated short, is a part of that. And what was your reaction to all of that? There's a lot. There's just a lot.
There is.
Before we break it down.
I would say probably extreme disappointment is the best way I can kind of, like, the best wrapping I can put on all of my feelings from today playing through is just extreme disappointment. And I think that stems partly from like my own headcanon as a player, which I think we all have, and is a good thing for us to kind of remember, is that due to the way an MMO plays, we kind of fill in a lot of gaps and read into a lot of things as players. And so then when they do big story beats like this, sometimes it can be hard to accept because it doesn't necessarily fit in with the way you play or the way you understood events. Because a lot of the events are like, they're fit in a tiny little questy box or a 30-second cinematic, and they're not as like fleshed out as a book or a movie or a TV show.
Right.
So there's a lot of room for interpretation. And I think I need to remember that as much as anybody else. But I think my expectations going into this were quite high. And on top of that, I feel like I feel a little bit let down by the dev team, because I feel like they, although we knew like straight from Battle for Azeroth announcement that the tree was going to burn and Sylvanas was in front of it, but they made it seem very much like, I mean, they threw around morally gray everywhere. They were like hinting at, like they obscured quest stuff. They obscured cinematics. They made it seem like there was going to be some big twist or something. At least that's the impression that I got from them. And then so when it was just like, when we got the end of the cinematic today, it was very much like, really? Because like we as fans, and I know I'm probably in the more like hardcore fan bucket as a podcaster and everything else. So I understand my commitment to the game is probably much, much more than everybody else's. And I talk about it a lot more than everybody else's. Sure. So I think that there was like, we spent so long, basically from the announcement until now, as Horde players, I don't know if you guys did this as Alliance too, but as Horde players, we spent a lot of time being like, okay, why would our war chief do this? what's happening, like trying to figure out what the plots could possibly be. And there were all kinds of theories. And I feel like every single one of the fan theories that we and others came up with were 1,000 times better stories than the one we ended up getting.
Now, I was talking to John Jagger, and before I did Azeroth Roundtable, or after I did Azeroth Roundtable a couple of weeks ago, and his theory was that Tyrande was actually the one who was going to set fire to it because she hates the Horde so much she didn't want the Horde to have it, right?
Right.
And so
there was kind of like salt the earth theories that I felt like would have worked.
Right, right. And then there was an Ashara theory out there as well. I mean, and there were lots of other theories out there from all the different fans out there. And I thought they were all very entertaining, all the ones that I heard. And I don't think I was necessarily surprised by the Sylvanas approach on this one. It seemed a little flaky. I mean, it seemed a little emotional, right? And for those guys who haven't seen Warbringers, I'm just going to spoil it right out for you. Okay, it's a very emotional moment. It seems like a knee-jerk reaction, and it just happens. And it's very kind of I don't know. It feels kind of flat for me. I mean, just it
fell very, very flat. And especially when, I mean, even in the Warbringer short, like the Warbringer short was phenomenal, right, except for the story it told.
Right.
The flashback to the old WoW story and seeing Arthas kill Sylvanas was like, I literally had tears in my eyes, then it was like bookended with new WoW. And I was like, you're just showing how terrible your story is by putting it up next to Arthas.
It was, and yes, I think that the short overall, I mean, the beginning part of it was amazing and great, and it was really cool to see Sylvanas. For those guys who haven't seen it yet, go see it, because I really do think that there is some real gold, especially from the beginning to all the way up to almost the end. Really, and then it just kind of fell off for me, and I was like, all right, okay, all right. So lots of really cool stuff, especially from an artwork standpoint. Lots of like how her tears turned into the black around her eyes, essentially, and you know, how she became the Banshee Queen and all that kind of great stuff. So yeah, it's a cool short overall, except for like that very last part. However, I want to say a couple of things, and that is, if you, two things. Number one, let's not blame specific devs for story. I saw this on Twitter. People blaming Taryn Gregory, people blaming Christy Golden, people blaming Alex I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Azafrabi?
Azafrabi. I don't know exactly how you pronounce it. But yes, Alex. Blaming him, blaming whatever, and then you had anger and frustration and people trying to get that out on the internet, and it always came off weird or upsetting or threatening, and that's not where we want to go. Second point was this. On Christy Golden's timeline, she said, there's so much more story that I can't tell you about. So much more. And this leads me to hope for something else. Right?
I'm glad you've got some hope, because Blizz succeeded in killing my hope.
Is it... Joce, you were talking about like wanting like some twist and something. Was it because, again, I haven't gone forward to watch this stuff. Like, I'm wanting to experience, and I'm going through it right now. So is it like so cut and dry to where like they're like you can't even imagine any sort of twist happening past this now?
Very much so. It kind of set everything up in a just black and white way that like Horde is evil now, Alliance is good now. And what always made Warcraft so compelling for me is that neither faction was necessarily good or bad. There were good and bad parts in both factions, which then made the Horde or Alliance choice really interesting, as opposed to just like, I want to be the good guys or I want to be the bad guys. So now they seem to have just really leaned into Horde are bad, and it almost feels like the Horde story was written for Alliance players to give them a reason to fight, as opposed to written for Horde players going through the story. So it left me with a really weird feeling and a really bad taste in my mouth. And I don't really know like where they could possibly take, like, for me, I can kind of see 3 different Sylvanas arcs. I can see the kind of one that's been thrown around since this whole expansion was announced, which is basically the whole Garrosh 2.0 thing, which I hate that phrase anyways, but just the idea that she'll be like a raid boss, we'll have to take her down. She'll be the evil bad war chief that the rest of the Horde will rebel against. Like, we literally just did that, so I hope they don't go down that road. But then they could take her through some sort of like redemption arc, which again doesn't feel that great for the Horde as a whole, because if they go down a redemption arc, that's probably going to involve her being saved somehow or cleansed somehow by either the Alliance as a whole or by Anduin specifically. And that just doesn't really feel great as a Horde player. Like, we don't necessarily feel like we need to be cleansed or changed or whatever. And it also, again, says Alliance good, Horde bad. Alliance is key to the story. Horde's just kind of there because they need something to fight.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel great as a Horde player. And then the third potential option is basically that she sees the error of her ways and sacrifices herself somehow to take down the real bad thing, which we all have a pretty good idea is going to be Old God and Azoth related. So like she sacrifices herself that way somehow. And again, if it's character beats that really fall flat and could have, I think, been treated better.
Or could it be, I mean, you brought up the old gods, or could it be some sort of play for the old gods to come in and, you know, I mean, like they've taken over Sylvanas' mind somehow and blah, 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 you know.
Well, the undead actually can't be corrupted by the old gods.
True.
So that kind of throws that whole she's under terrible influence theory out the window a little.
All right. So she had a bad day.
She just had a bad writer.
Yeah. She just had a, I don't know. I'm trying to, I think that I'm hopeful only because Christy Golden says there's more coming. And so I understand. And if you've read Before the Storm, that was a great book. And there were a lot of little twists and turns and things going on in there and blah, blah, blah. And really, Sylvanas isn't acting out of character from that book going forward.
Well, and I think that's part of my issue too, is they seem to be taking her down this like life versus death thing, which is kind of okay from a WoW universe standpoint because, you know, life opposes death. They're opposite forces in the universe, same way that like the void is opposite to light. So if that's what they're trying to get at, I don't think they're doing a great job. And that also kind of seemed to come a little bit out of nowhere because there were definitely tones of like hints and tones of that in the book that I found to be a little bit odd and not really, again, where I personally saw Sylvanas going as a character. She was always really interesting to me. Like, she's this tragic character, but she's also this powerful, strong person who has all of this like general experience. Now she's in charge of an entire faction. I felt they could have done so much. And they went this weird, like, she just wants to kill everything now path, starting in what I felt like was Before the Storm. So I felt like it was just it's an odd story direction that I wasn't really on board with. And I kind of hoped it was going to stay in Before the Storm. And then this happened. And I was just like, oh no.
Yeah, that was the one thing that I was kind of disappointed with Before the Storm was that the leak that we had, the 96 pages of leak that we had before the actual release of the book actually had the ending in there essentially. And I was like, oh man, I thought they were gonna leak like the stuff that was just before the end, and then at the end they'd switch it up somehow, but then they didn't do that, and I was like, oh dang it. So I don't know. This kind of seems like that same type of thing. Kind of got the rug pulled out from under us. It was just like, all right, we have to deal with this now. Okay.
I did feel like that leak really dampened my enjoyment of Before the Storm as well, because like you say, all the major kind of plot points were already revealed. So then as I was reading through the book, I was like, well, this is just filler. This is just filler. Okay. There's no actual like new information here from what was already leaked, which I mean, when you leak 100 pages of a book, it's hard to, you know.
There were some cool little story arcs in there, but nothing that was too huge or anything like that, because I really did like some of the little things in that book, especially.
Don't say the goblin and gnome storyline, Pat, because I will hang up now.
I didn't. So I liked their relationship to a point, and then I didn't anymore. So that's what I'll say. Anyway,
I'm not going to go down that whole tangent.
I like the ending when they were hobbling along. Anyway, so and I see this in chat, and I want to bring this to the podcast as well. And that is that Christy Golden, Taryn Gregory, all the guys on the story team, there are many writers involved with all this different stuff. It's not just one person. It's never just one person when it comes to World of Warcraft, because their team is huge. They have a very large story team now, especially. And if you don't believe me, there's actually a story on sciencealert.com where Alex, say the last name, Afraziabi, I think that's the way you say it.
Hey, ethics.
And where he was actually interviewed in a 3-part series talking about story in WoW. And so he talks about kind of the process and how it was in the old days and all the stuff that they've had to build and do and figure out along the last, how long has it been? 12, 14, 18, 200 years. The last 200 years of World of Warcraft being around. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. So in that article, you'll see it. On Twitter, you'll see it. This is not just one person that has come up with this stuff.
Yeah, what I would add to that is, you know, again, it's okay to be frustrated with a story.
Yeah.
But again, you know, there's so many people involved in this. It's not one person making a decision. Like you can vent your frustrations on Twitter, but just vent to them for yourself. Don't like get on angrily and respond to the first thing you see. Like I seriously, I saw a response to Christy saying that she wasn't part of the writing team yet when that story arc had started. And it was somebody saying, oh, that's super unprofessional to like come out and put the blame on someone else, because they literally didn't even read that somebody was complimenting her and she was passing on that compliment saying, oh, I actually wasn't part of like the team at that point.
Right.
And it's somebody so caught up assuming she's just, you know, pushing blame somewhere else. It's just, you know,
people are seeing
we'll
red.
Get through this.
People are
there
seeing
is a
red.
lot of fire.
Yes.
But
there's a lot of burning fire all across Twitter. And yes. It's our job to kind of I feel like it's our job as responsible podcasters to say, hey, let's all take a beat. Let's all relax. Let's see what's going on. And let's figure this thing out, because I mean, we have another next week. We have the final week before the expansion. Maybe something else will pop up next week that we'll be able to kind of figure out as far as this thing goes. We also have the next Warbringers thing with Ashara coming out as well. The next short, maybe that will be revealing in some way as well. There's still possibilities, Joce.
I know. And I think so I do want to echo, I mean, I have obviously been the most negative on the show so far about my, you know, feelings of the story and how the treatment of Sylvanas and the treatment of the Horde. But I think you can be passionate and you can be critical without attacking anyone personally. Absolutely. And I think, you know, there's no reason to go after, you know, specific devs for any reason, for any game story beat or mechanic you don't like. It's there are big wide teams and ways to get your feedback across to those big wide teams in much more constructive fashion than attacking people on Twitter. It's really not going to get you anywhere, and it's not going to further the conversation at all. There's no reason for it.
Absolutely.
Right. And so with that, let's talk about our experience with the actual game stuff. Okay, just for a little bit, we'll kind of take a break from story, and if you have more story stuff that you want to bring in, especially when it comes to the questing side of things, we can talk about that as well. I've left plenty of time on this show so that we can talk about this story, so that we can talk about these quests, so that we can talk about our gameplay, because I think that it is important, especially now, because we are setting a tone for Battle for Azeroth. So I just wanted to make sure that we had plenty of time to talk about stuff. So let's talk about questing. And I have played both on the Alliance and the Horde. And so I kind of know what each side is kind of doing and stuff like that. Joce, you were playing Horde side, right?
Yeah, I did play Horde side. I played Alliance side last week. I haven't played through the Alliance side this week because, I'll be honest, I played through on my one Horde character and had to step away. So
right.
I haven't played through the Alliance side of this week yet. But I don't know about you guys and your side this week, but the Horde side was quite short.
It was, and so that was my comment as well. It seemed like it was there, and then you were like, "Oh, here's your mount. See you later." I mean, you got the animated short played for you, and then you were done. And it was quite short, and it seemed very, I don't know, it seemed weird, right? Because Sylvanas comes up after the short plays, and she's like, I didn't foresee this being the what was actually going to happen. I thought we were just going to go in and take the world tree and everything was going to be fine. But then this person over here had to open their mouth, and then I had to go respond emotionally to the thing and burn everything down. Actually, the real reason why Teldrassil burned was because I was in tree form and I was walking past a campfire a little too closely. Oops. I caught on fire and I started running all the way through Teldrassil. So it did seem short though, right?
Yeah, it was short and it was abrupt and it was very much, I found it interesting. It almost felt so disjointed that it was like, did they mean to leave these voice lines in here? Because when she's talking about like, oh, we came here to take over Darnassus or whatever, and we didn't achieve our goals. I'm like, no kidding! You went psycho and burned the tree, Sylvanas. Whose fault is this?
Right. Yeah, you don't bring catapults to a world tree without meaning to do some kind of weird stuff. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. Yeah.
It seems weird.
But it did seem very short and very abrupt. And I felt like I didn't do as much this week as I did last week.
Yep.
I felt like it almost felt like because of like Warbringer release reasons and spoiler reasons, they didn't want to do last week and this week all in one go. But I think it would have been better served if it was just one long quest line that you did through Darkshore and then one long quest line that you did through Lordaeron, because they're not splitting the Lordaeron piece in half, which I think is good because nobody wants to split a big active battle in half. There's no good breathing point there. It would feel really awkward. Right. But I kind of feel like that's how it felt too at the end of questing last week, at least on the Horde side, because we do have to wait for Sarfang to come through another zone and join us with the rest of the army. But at the same time, like, they could have just said, "Oh, he's here now! Huzzah! Let's go!" It just,
right.
I mean, I've walked through Perilous; it was fine.
And so I also played both sides on the PTR, just so you know. So when I played it on the PTR, they were all lumped together like that, and it seemed really abrupt. It really seemed, if you're sneaking around on the other side of Fellwood, and all of a sudden you're just like, there, it's really kind of weird, and you're questioning things. But I think I'd be questioning things anyway. I just don't think that the questing was like on the Alliance side. Last week I was talking about it. It seemed a little disjointed, and I think that was because Malfurion was talking about how we had to wait for wait for everybody to show up in the boats, and then we were gonna do stuff. But until then, go do some world quests. I don't remember what the wording was. And then on the Horde side, it seemed much more complete. It seemed like there was an obvious breaking point for the Horde. It also seemed like it was a little longer than the Alliance side. So
yeah, so was the Alliance side longer this week?
Oh yeah.
Because okay. Because I was gonna say, yeah, the Horde was very much like you go and take a village, and then you go and watch the conflict between Malfurion and Sylvanas, and there's a whole bunch of dialogue there, and then you basically see the cinematic, and that's it.
Right.
There was not a whole lot of actual questing on Horde side this week.
And so on the Alliance side, what you do is you have the same village quest type of thing, except in reverse. You're trying to save people. You're trying to kill attackers and blah blah blah. Then you have the clip or the short, and then from there you go and you try to rescue everybody from Darnassus. And so you actually go to Darnassus and you're trying to put out fires and save people, and they give you the impossible task of saving. I want to say it's like 984 citizens in 3 minutes or something like that.
Wow.
It's like, they give you a timer and it's like, oh, I got to get moving. And then they give you an extra action button that is for water, so you can just like douse fires out and stuff like that, and then go free people. And it's kind of fun, although pointless. You realize how pointless it is as you get going, because you have to like individually like right click on somebody and then talk to them, and then you have to say, okay, let's leave, and that's one person. I mean,
you've already raised your APM, Pat.
You've already
raised your APM.
You've already wasted like 10 seconds, and you're like going, I am never gonna make this. But it's still kind of fun and kind of and cool, and it's a good story point to make, I guess. And then well, there's more to it. I don't think I need to ruin the end, but yes. So that's kind of the Alliance side in a nutshell. And I think the Alliance side was much better done. And maybe, I'm not going to say Alliance bias, but Alliance bias? I'll say it like that.
It did. Okay, so it did feel a little bit like that. And obviously, as a Horde player, that's how I'm probably going to feel coming out of all of this. But I will say, when I saw like reactions on Twitter, because I have friends on both factions and follow people in both factions.
Sure.
The majority of Alliance players were doing things like posting pictures of themselves on their mounts in front of Stormwind and everything else. And they were all really happy and like, yeah, Horde, we're coming for you, blah, blah, blah. I didn't see that kind of a reaction from any of my Horde friends at all. Even when I was like, finish the quests on the shore with a whole bunch of other people, as is what happens when you hit a bottleneck in any kind of questing at all ever in Warcraft. So there's a whole pile of Horde players all standing around. No one's on their mounts. Everyone's just like, what just happened? And the cohesiveness of the Horde side and that feeling of, yeah, Alliance, we're coming to get you. And like the other half of the battle for Azeroth really felt like it just wasn't there after this week. So maybe it'll feel differently next week, but I don't know.
You're right. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know what to think going into Battle for Azeroth anymore, because that was such a straight play by Blizz. I mean, just everything has been fairly straightforward. The only weird thing for me has been Sourfang, because he like has his honor that he has to keep up all the time, yet he did a little underhanded move during the quest line, but he was trying to save citizens. I don't know. It's like selective honor from Sourfang. So,
well, I did feel like they did kind of push the honor kind of mentality in the Horde quest line when you're going into the city, because you only fire on military targets, as is kind of the war story we've been told over the last 2 weeks as Horde. I know it's slightly different over on the Alliance side, but we were told, only military people. And then on top of that, we go in and save civilians, although since we didn't speak the same language, I'm not 100% sure what the civilians were saying back to me. That would be really interesting to know. But I mean, it must have been, scary for them or whatever. But we were taking civilians for questioning and stuff like that. So like, it was still, even though it's war and Horde are clearly the aggressors, it was still what I would say was an honorable war. Up until the tree, there weren't civilian casualties in Horde canon, at least. I know there was the option with the stealth rogue to go around and kill civilians if you wanted to as a Horde player, but canon-wise, that wasn't the way it was supposed to go.
Right.
But yeah, and then you're right. Then he does this whole dishonorable thing to save the war chief, and then it's like, well, is it really dishonorable if you're saving your war chief? I don't know.
Yeah, right. By doing an underhanded move, is that the way that you want to, is that the way you want to do that, bro? The one thing I will say that I wasn't expecting today was that, yes, there was kickback on Sylvanas online that I saw. There was kickback on the writers, and there was kickback on everybody for all the stuff that happened. But there was also kickback on Malfurion Stormrage. People were hating Malfurion today. And I'm like, are you just tired of him? I mean, I guess I kind of get it. But, as he always says,
night elves are the right elves.
So there.
Hey,
I don't know.
Heroes of the Storm, people have been hating on Malfurion for quite a while. So it's nothing new to me.
Right. And
I think a lot of people are still kind of upset about the whole, like, everything that happened in Val'sharah and the, what happened to Ysera, and if Malfurion had just not been real dumb, then maybe we would still have her. And I think there is a lot of exhaustion with the Malfurion character. Yeah. So I think on both sides of the fence, Horde or Alliance were kind of united behind the idea of, hey, maybe Malfurion dies. That's kind of cool.
Right. And so, yeah, I mean, he's definitely a target, which is kind of interesting on this particular quest line and stuff like that. But, unfortunately for all those haters out there, Malfurion does not die at this time. So
Tyrande saves him again.
Right. Again. Tyrande is always saving everybody. Well, mainly him, but whatever. Okay, so the only thing that I saw in my feed, and I actually put out a question today on Twitter saying, what did you guys think about this stuff? And the only thing that I saw that was kind of positive from a Horde. I found it, so I thought I'd bring it back to you here, Joce. It says, as a Horde player, my faction is winning the war, so I'm cool with it. Although I was expecting a cool plot twist. That's like the most positive review from a Horde that I saw.
And there is kind of a portion of the Horde that I think is in that mindset, which I think is the best, healthiest mindset to be in right now. Is we made a huge move, displayed our power, and rah Horde. But I think for a lot of us that are more in the like Thralls Horde mindset, it just doesn't really jive with, again, our own player headcanon. So, I'm glad that there are people out there that are able to embrace the story the way that it's going. And I've got to say, like, even all the way up to last night, like I said, I had been playing in war mode. We had a group of 10 of us playing in war mode who just like took over Darkshore, were like just killing Alliance everywhere. Nice. It was great. They couldn't get a foothold. And I was very much rah Horde, we can do this. But then the cinematic happened, and I was like, "Oh, I don't feel good about doing this anymore." And it just, really.
Then today happened.
It was like a gut punch.
Yeah, I get it. Well, maybe what they're doing is that Goel is going to come out of retirement and retain his title as Thrall, leader of them all. So
leader of them all.
Yep.
Now. It's super interesting. So after listening to you all's conversations, kind of seeing what's going on Twitter, seeing the Zord chat of the guys that are super stoked for this, a part of me wants to think that this is just absolutely like genius on Blizzard's part, because I feel like the internet right now is what would be happening in World of Warcraft if there was such thing as the internet.
Oh yeah.
Is like you have like the Horde people and stuff that, you know, it's all of a sudden this happens and they're like, wait, what? Like, I don't really know how I feel about this. Yet you still have the small factions of the Horde, and I don't know what this says about my friends, the Zords, but they're just super stoked about like killing Alliance, and like they are all for it. Yeah, go Sylvanas. I have bad friends, I guess.
All right. Well,
so and I know, Jocelyn, you went through like the 3 scenarios that like you see coming out of this that are underwhelming, but there's a part of me that like Blizzard knew this was going to happen. They just have this like huge twist, huge surprise that's going to blow everyone away and really just carry you through like these crazy emotions. That is my hope.
How could they not know that there wouldn't be some sort of break in the internet on this type of release?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, Joce, do you feel like they had to know that that was coming?
Oh, I'm sure that they knew that it was coming. I mean, how could they not?
Right.
Really, right?
Right.
I mean, I guess maybe I was just looking for the twist in the story to come a little bit earlier, or I don't know, like I feel so deflated today as a Horde player, and it's really difficult to continue playing and being a big lore person and playing on the Horde right now. And I feel like it just generally feels bad. And I know Blizzard is a company, because they say this in Hearthstone all the time as to why they make design decisions. But I know, like, as a company, they tend to not like to make game experiences that feel bad.
Right.
And normally there's something that counteracts it and kind of pulls you through at the time, whatever the bad thing is. And it feels like right now there's just, you know, hoping for something good is not really doing it for me right now.
Yeah. Right.
So, I mean, I was hoping for the good story beat to happen this week, and it didn't.
Yeah.
And I also feel like had they just swapped the events, I would have been totally fine with it. Like, had Lordaeron happened first, had Anduin wanted to like get revenge for his father, stoked by Greymane, they attacked Lordaeron, Sylvanas loses Undercity, and then she burns the World Tree in revenge. Great story. Gray, you can be on either side. But right now, it just feels like we're aggressive for no reason, and Sylvanas went a little nuts, and that doesn't feel good.
Right. Although I can't really see Anduin doing the striking first thing right now. Anyway, especially after Before the Storm. But you know, whatever. I mean, yeah. I would agree with you though. That would be probably an easier setup for a win for both sides.
Yeah.
So there. All right. Until we find out more, guys, we're just going to have to wait. We're just going to have to wait, because I think that's all the time that we can actually spend on just the story of WoW and all that kind of stuff. I know that we have other games that we need to talk about as well. And I want to give those some time as too. So but next week should be revealing. And then, of course, the week after that will be very revealing, because Battle for Azeroth will be live. And for that, I'm very excited. And I will say that I'm super hopeful. And Blizz, thank you for putting out Battle for Azeroth, because I want some new content now. So yay. So yay for that. All right. Let's talk a little bit about Hearthstone.
Well met.
Yes. And Joce, you have a show about Hearthstone, as well as about WoW. So you have a show about everything, I think. Every game. Right?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. So the Angry Chicken, you guys have been doing your stuff with all the card releases that have been coming out for the Boomsday Project. Boomsday Project looks like a lot of fun. We've been seeing the lab logs. We're up to part 3 on that, right? And we also have the Boom Labs, which is the video side of things, and that is also in part 3. So very fun stuff.
Yeah, They've been doing some really, really cool, really fun things with Hearthstone this time around. They've been doing a lot of kind of crazy advertising and stuff, and that goes along with a pretty crazy set. There are a lot of different effects on a lot of different cards that are things that we've never seen before and are even hard to say whether it's going to be competitively viable or not. It's just, this set is absolute insanity, but it's the good kind of Hearthstone insanity.
Nice. I like that. But I mean, it really does seem like it's super random. There's all sorts of weird quirks to it. You can basically build your own bear. It's not really a bear. You can build your own. You can build your own bot and kind of go from there. There's a bunch of weird stuff happening. So looks kind of cool. Were there any cards, like specific cards, that stuck out to you at all, as far as like big things
from the set as a whole so far?
Yeah.
I think design-wise, probably my favorite is Whizbang, just because he's so good for free-to-play players. So what Whizbang does is he won't even let you put any other cards into the deck with him. He just randomly gives you a deck recipe at the beginning of your game. So he'll assign you a random hero with one of two recipes from the newest sets, and then you just get to play with that deck.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, the deck recipes have been moderately okay. Like, they're fine for ladder. They're nothing crazy. They're definitely not optimized, but they really give you a good idea about some of the mechanics in Hearthstone. Sometimes they do lean a little bit too far into something, into whatever the theme of the deck is, but they're still viable decks. And the really great thing is you can basically craft one legendary, and I believe they're giving us a golden legendary at the start of this set. So you can basically disenchant whatever you get and make Whizbang, so he's literally free for players, and then you get access to 18 playable decks. So it's great for players that can't afford to put any money into Hearthstone, because that's
awesome.
been the biggest criticism of Hearthstone in the last year or so, ever since they announced that they're doing 3 expansions per year.
Yep.
Is because 3 expansions per year means big increase in the cost of the game. So this is a really, really good move by Blizzard, I think. So it makes me really happy. It's my favorite card so far.
Good. Well, and the release actually happens next week?
It does, which is crazy. Like, I need to write a letter to them and be like, guys, Battle for Azeroth, Boomsday, why?
Right.
There's no way I'm going to be done with Boomsday by the time Battle for Azeroth comes around.
No. How could you be? I mean, that's going to be kind of like an ongoing, like Boomsday, like is anytime a new expansion releases, it's weeks until you've got kind of like a settled meta and people kind of have these different decks going around, and so you can kind of see what's happening. But and it takes a while for competitive play to catch up with that as well, right? So
yep.
so there. But I guess we'll be. I mean, you and I will be talking about Boomsday Project a lot over on the Battlenet sports side of things, especially when it comes to competitive play for HCT.
We
stuff.
will.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. But for now, let's go to another game that I think Gizmo plays. I'm not sure. It's called Heroes of the Storm.
Let's jam.
Yeah. So Gizmo.
Yes.
There was a new hero that was announced recently.
There was.
What's going on?
So this was an interesting one. It again, like they've made the gap longer between hero releases now. We're kind of getting to that point. And a lot of people have been wanting a priest in the game. A lot of people have been wanting Anduin in the game, especially with
Sure.
Battle for Azeroth, coming up here.
Sure.
And we got High Inquisitor Whitemane, better known as Sally.
Right. So,
So
we got Sally, not Manduin.
yes.
So very sad.
But which I was honestly 100% okay with. I mean, Whitemane, the whole Scarlet Crusade storyline, the dungeons is those are some of, if not my favorite dungeons in World of Warcraft. Going through those, more the old versions, new versions are okay. But I think she's a really, really cool character to bring to the game. And honestly, we needed another support. And they built her in a way that really yes, she's a priest, but it's not in such a way to where it's like, okay, well, now we have a priest and it's her. We're not going to get another priest, so we're not going to get Anduin. Like
Right.
Anduin is definitely still a possibility.
So what is her kit basically like? What kind of things will she be able to do?
So it kind of seems like she's going to play kind of like a disc priest, kind like Malfurion-ish as well,
Okay.
which is healing, and then the more damage you're doing, the more healing you're doing. So her main heal is her Q is Desperate Plea, and that heals an allied hero for 145, and then you gain Desperation for 4 seconds, which is a stacking kind of debuff to keep you from casting that nonstop.
Okay.
But with her trait, which is Zeal, anytime you heal somebody, so using your Desperate Plea, it will apply Zeal to that target for 8 seconds, and then allies with Zeal are healed for 100% of the damage she deals.
Oh,
so you
cool.
have, yeah.
So it is. So it's a very disky, priesty thing to do.
Yeah,
That's
very
cool.
much.
Awesome.
She has a channel on her W that's kind of like Asmodan's channel, where it's just a beam attached to somebody.
Okay.
She has a cool Searing Lash, which is a skill shot where if you hit somebody after a couple or half a second, it shoots off in the other direction. So it seems like she's going to have a cool kit. I haven't played her in PTR yet. I've heard that her healing kind of feels a little low right now, but who knows?
That's what happens with disc priests. It's tough to balance. Yeah. It's tough to balance. It really is. I mean, it's just one of those things. So I'm actually thinking about now that I have my Void Elf, I'm like going, oh, maybe I should make a disc priest. That would be kind of weird, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about what I want to do for a character for my. I'm sorry, I went back into WoW for a second. What other big things are going on in Heroes?
So we did also get our latest in development skin, our video, which usually comes with the new heroes, showing Whitemane's alternate skin. Which, by the way, the artwork for her is absolutely incredible. The splash art they did for her,
it's really cool.
It's really good.
Yeah, super good.
So they came out with the video with these skins. It'll be like Celestial Empress Whitemane skin, which is okay. It's not
really. I love it. I saw this and I was like, oh, okay. And then I saw the Celestial skin and I was like, oh, yes, please.
Right.
Well, fair enough. But we're also kind of getting this new little lore tidbits, like interdimensional, or it's the Nexus. Who knows what it actually is?
Right.
But the Viper organization, is making an appearance here.
Yes. What's going on with that?
So they released a little video for it couple days ago, and it's the Viper organization rose to power, squashing all who tried to stand in the way. They're always recruiting, rise through the ranks, join infamous operatives. And the operatives they have right now are going to be, they have Ana, they have a Genji, and a Stukov skin. And it's the Genji one's very much like, and actually a lot of these skins seem like a mashup of like Destiny and then like Cobra from G.I. Joe? Is that G.I. Joe?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So it's like this cool, like futuristic military aesthetic.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean it's cool, it's no Nexomania.
Yeah. Dude, that was, by the way, I don't know if they can top that. That was so fun. That was just so, over the top fun. So
well, and then right after Nexomania, we had the Alterac Pass stuff with those really cool theme skins. And I talked about this on the show. I said, the skins are so good right now, and they keep topping themselves. We're gonna get to a point where they're gonna release some skins that are still awesome, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, okay,
they're meh, they're whatever, but they're still awesome.
These are cool skins, but like it's just it's like,
if this was 2 years ago, people would be freaking out. But
right.
But yeah, and you'll have your bundles and stuff for this. But yeah,
cool. Now, Joce, I know you play some Heroes of the Storm. Are you do you play? What do you normally play?
I tank.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you're always up for seeing a new healer arrive.
Oh yeah, throw all the kinds of new healers in the game. That's great. Anyone who can help me when I charge in is a crazy Diablo.
Right.
It's all good.
Oh, that's right. Are you still playing Diablo like a lot?
He's still my main go-to even after the rework. I really, really enjoy him, but I've kind of diversified a little bit now. Got some Muradin action going on.
All right. Muradin's pretty cool. I like Muradin. Yeah.
I just like being up in people's faces. It's actually what made me go and make a warrior in WoW. Is I was like, hang on a second, I am way better at this than dealing damage.
Nice. Anything else going on with Heroes of the Storm at all, guys?
There may be a slight teaser that's leading up to Malfurion's death in World of Warcraft.
What?
Ooh.
Because they took away Ice Block from Malfurion.
Oh, I see what it was. Man, you had me all like going.
Oh, I was so excited for a second.
Yeah.
What? lean into the camera and go, what?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's that would be amazing if they did that in Heroes of the Storm. Nope.
That would be cool, kind of.
No.
I think some people would be upset, but I would think it's cool.
You thought people were upset today. You thought people were upset today. Do that, and you'll see what's going to happen. In World of Warcraft tomorrow if that happens. Oof, that'd be nutso. I know that we have. So there were. So this was supposed to come on the show tonight, but she's feeling under the weather, or over it, or whatever, through it. I don't know. Something
There's
to do
weather
with
involved.
Yes, there is weather involved. So hopefully I'll be able to talk to her tomorrow about the Overwatch League Grand Finals was this last weekend, and London wins. That's all I'm going to really say about it here. We'll save it for Battlenet Sports, and I know that Joce will talk some HCT tomorrow on Battlenet Sports as well, and I will talk some HGC because we're coming up to the Western and Eastern clashes. And so lots of stuff is getting kind of nailed down as far as who's going. Mm-hmm. And is that exciting, Giz? Are you still watching that hardcore?
Yes, it's extremely exciting, and I really wish I could go to Burbank to watch it at the Blizzard Arena, but I can't. So if you can, make sure and get your tickets because I feel like it's going to sell out. That's right.
So yeah, it should be a good time, and I know that the teams are lining up pretty nicely for that. So should be nice. Anything else as far as any other games that we need to talk about? I mean, any other news that you guys heard about anywhere? All right, we'll just get out then. We're fine. I'll just play this music. I wanted to make sure to leave enough time, and I knew that we were going to have, we were supposed to have 4 people on the show, so I was like, oh, I won't do a top 10. I won't let that get in the way. And then this unfortunately had to bail out on tonight. So we're actually just over an hour for the show. That's amazing. That hasn't happened. That hasn't happened in forever, guys. Congratulations, we did it. I don't know if that was the actual goal. All right, but before we go. Guys, I want to have you guys talk about what you're doing this week, or coming up, and how people can get a hold of you. Gizmo, I'll let you go first. What's Lords of the Storm doing tomorrow?
So tomorrow, of course, we will be going a little bit more in depth on Miss Sally.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you have a chance to test her out in some PTR. I can go too deep because, of course, she'll be launching the next Tuesday. Yep. We'll be talking Sally. We'll be talking, I'm sure, some more of the in-development stuff, as well as HGC leading up clashes.
Right. Is that Mustang Sally? Mustang Sally. Yep. And Joce, how about you? What have you got going on? You're always doing busy things, and you have many, many podcasts and streams and other stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, today on Angry Chicken, we went deep into all the cards that have come out so far. So I think we had like 50 cards on Angry Chicken that we reviewed today. We're doing one more review episode before the expansion launches. That's actually going to be on Monday next week. So lots and lots of Hearthstone going on right now. Again, that's Angry Chicken. And we're going to be going pretty deep on all of the Warcraft lore stuff on For Azeroth this week as well. So if you haven't heard me talk about the Horde enough yet, go check out For Azeroth.
It's tough to, like, I want to have people play through all of this stuff, and at the same time, there are these spoilers that we need to talk about, that we needed to talk about tonight, especially. I am not one for normally doing spoilers, but for tonight, I kind of said, you know what, screw it, we got to talk about this stuff. So, I hope you guys don't hate me for it. But, you know, if you do, you can yell at me on Twitter at Pat Krane, and that's with a K. And now I'm going to bail on that, and, oh, there we go. And I'm going to play this as we get out of here. And you can also talk to us wherever we are. You can always go over to converttoraid.com, join the Bazooba Nation over there. And that's where we have everything. We have our video, we have our audio, we have our swag stuff over there, and we also have the Convert to Raid podcast network featuring these two guys right here, and all of our regulars on Battlenet News and Battlenet Sports. Have some shows over there from Joce. I think we only have like a couple of your shows. Maybe we'll put up like all. We would put up all of them, but I think we might break the site. So we can't do it all the time. So join us over at converttoraid.com for all that stuff. We're also on social at converttoraid as well. So, you know, on Twitter, Facebook, whatever. Mostly Twitter, though. Let's face it. It's mostly Twitter. Convert to Raid is produced and distributed by Signals Media, and that's going to be it for the show. Joce, Gizmo, thank you guys so much. Twitch chat, thank you guys. It's always nice hearing what you have to say, especially on a show like this one, where there's lots of weird stuff happening. And thanks to everybody at home or in your car, at work, wherever you are. We definitely appreciate you guys picking us up every single week. We love you. And for all the guys at Convert to Raid, we will see you next time. Until then, bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Did you want to hear the bear again?
No.
Did you want to hear the bear voice again?
Yeah.
All right, I can do the bear voice one more time. Here, hold on a second.
When I'm not communing with nature, I'm trying to tell people about forest fires, about forest fire safety, stuff like that.
I had to do that today. I was like, I was trying to do this for last week. Like, I had it all set up and everything ready to go. I was like, all right, here we go. I have my idea. And then today, as I'm rolling through, getting ready to record it and everything like that, I see somebody make a Smokey the Bear joke in our Discord, and I went, damn it! It's not, I don't know if it's funny anymore.